It's the holiday season, and if you think you've landed yourself a great deal while buying that last-minute airline ticket, you might want to think again. Airline ticket frauds are on the rise, with tickets available for just a fraction of the usual price. Now, these too good-to-be-true deals might seem extremely attractive, but be wary of what could be fraudsters luring you to steal your money. In fact, the Interpol has also recently warned of such cyber crimes. Let's first tell you how the airline ticket fraud really works. Criminals use stolen, compromised, or hacked credit card details to buy airline tickets. These criminals offer tickets for sale through professional-looking websites or social networking accounts that appear to be for legitimate travel agencies or travel agents. Now, these so-called travel agents ask for immediate payment, typically by cash or bank transfer or even virtual currencies now, like the cryptocurrency. After receiving your payment, the criminal sends you the flight booking confirmation with their original purchase details deleted. Now, when you buy an airline ticket in this manner, you put your money directly into the hands of the criminals who use it to fund other serious crimes. These are just some of the red flags that we should be on the lookout for. Is the ticket price significantly cheaper than anywhere else, which is what usually happens and which is what attracts us in the first go? Is the departure date in the next few days? Criminals usually offer tickets only 1 or 2 days before the flight. And are they asking for payment in cash or via bank transfer, etc.? So what are the warning signs, the tips to stay safe, how to spot a fake deal? We get you everything that you need to know on the show tonight. Joining me on the show, Lloyd Matthias. He's a technology executive, a cyber expert. Advocate N.S. Napinai. She is also the founder of Cyber Sathi. And Sarosh Damania, aviation expert, joins us. Good evening and welcome to all of you. Sarosh Damania, I'd like to start with you. You know, the kind of airline ticket frauds that we are seeing now, it is, of course, the holiday season, and we all need to be careful of this kind of a fraud. But how prevalent is it in the aviation industry, and how alert are airlines to this?
See, as far as the aviation ticket scam is concerned, because now things turning to be online and offline ticketing has become very less compared to what used to be earlier. These cyber criminals or hackers are trying to take this opportunity to give out lucrative prices, too good to be true deals. And people today, because of search engines, try to search for cheaper tickets for last minute family outings or maybe a business trip they need to go just the next day. So at this point of time, when they're searching for maybe say cheap tickets or something, these websites which are available on the search engines only. So they are usually paid advertisement websites or something on which a person clicks to get a cheaper ticket. But in the end, the person is buying a ticket from an unknown website, which is not going to give you the actual tickets. Sometimes they even, of course, give you fake tickets when you go to reach the airport and put in the PNR or you try to online check in, the ticket is not even valid. So, of course, at last minute, last second, a person has no other choice but to then spend 3 times, 4 times the money to buy a ticket if he has to travel only. Of course, in any moment of cybercrime or any moment of hacking or once this has occurred, a person should immediately intimate the police authorities. Now, the police also has a dedicated cyber cell for this kind of issues to approach them. So, of course, if you are a victim of such a cyber scam or such a ticketing scam, you should immediately file a complaint with the police. Polices also nowadays have their online cybercrime portals. That is also pretty active. So
yes, absolutely. I think reporting is the first step that we should be doing. Yes, that golden hour of reporting, that is so very important in cyber crimes. But Lloyd Matthias, you know, how do we save ourselves from this kind of an attractive deal that we get on airline tickets? It's the holiday seasons. We've just, spent Christmas, New Year's is around, and people want to go back home. They want to spend time with their families. But a lot of them actually fall prey to this kind of a cyber crime that is prevalent nowadays.
Thank you, Shreya. As Mr. Damania rightly pointed out, I think clearly, the issue is large. And given the holiday season and people's propensity to travel and do kind of look for deals, I think that's an even bigger opportunity. In terms of protection, I think there are two areas. I think one is an alert buyer ought to be looking out for certain telltale signs. So typically, ideally shop with your travel needs with either the destination airlines or with large well-known travel sites, right? It's I know there are a lot of these offers that keep springing up on social media that promise the moon, that promise amazing deals. But I think the biggest watch out is really to stick with well-known travel sites at the first level. Second, I guess, is to look for the obvious signs, payment links that don't seem genuine, that really ask for either cash transactions or something that seems entirely crazy. But on the other side, I think there is a case for better regulation, specifically given the value of airline tickets, and that being the biggest extent of the scam. The ability for a consumer to almost immediately after or in the process get a confirmation directly from an airline. And I think in that context, the aviation industry has to work closely with regulators to see how they can ensure that, because a lot of the lot of the fake or the lot of the real big scams are happening when people dupe other people out of for airline tickets. So I think the airline industry has to come forward and work closely with regulators to ensure that consumers get a certain verification every time they're in the process of buying an airline ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, Saroj Damania, how much of that is being taken care of? The fact that aviation industry needs to be at the forefront when we talk about dealing with such cyber criminals, where the airline has to give an immediate confirmation of the ticket that has been bought and such challenges that the industry faces.
See, as far as the airlines are concerned, of course, airlines care about their consumers. They want to travel. Airlines also sometimes take out the initiatives where on their website itself they educate people about ticket frauds or about fraudulent transactions. But of course, reporting immediately confirming with the airline here, of course, consumer also has to be aware. Once you get a PNR, you can call up the contact center of the airline, or usually airlines do send already. There is a methodology in place when once you book the tickets within 24 hours, the airline will also send you a confirmation, or a ticket is also sent via, or you get a message on your number through the airline also. So that mechanism is already in place. But in spite of the mechanisms being in place, these cyber criminals tend to even send out fake emails, fake confirmations. So that is overlapping. And of course, consumer in the end has to be themselves aware also. And of course, airlines are part of the industry. They have to be proactive in educating the consumer, looking out for the consumers. But of course, consumers have to see the big picture. As of course stated earlier, they should buy from a reputed website or directly from the airline's website, not give out too many details. Sometimes these fraudulent websites even ask for your birthday, try to create accounts, so they are trying to commit an identity theft also. So that is the problem. So consumers should be aware, and it is better to stick with, if you are doubtful regarding a website, it is better to read an online review. Today you have Google reviews, today you have so many things online also. So before purchasing from an unknown place, you should always research about it, Google about it, and thereafter do it. So it is a better chance, or you should stay safe. So it is upon the consumer itself also to educate themselves and take precautionary measures. Of course, the law authorities are there to help them and all that, but afterwards it becomes, in cybercrime, it becomes very difficult to trace out, because the accused person or the person committing the crime might not even be in the country. He might be sitting somewhere else and committing the crime. So tracing the person becomes very difficult, and getting the money back is a very difficult situation in case of cybercrimes, because there are multiple layers of transactions.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Traceability is one of the biggest challenges. Yeah. The traceability of the perpetrator, the traceability of the money, and the fact that virtual currencies have come in, we've got crypto dealings happening now, makes the traceability challenge even more big. But NS Napina, we've been talking about the fact that we should check online, we should go to the websites of the airlines or confirm online whether this is a genuine deal or not. But the fact of the matter is that website cloning is also a reality, and these websites that the fraudsters create look so genuine that it's very difficult for people like you and I, actually, not you maybe, but at least people like me and a lot of our viewers who wouldn't be able to differentiate between the genuine and the fake website. How do we do that, and how do we overcome this challenge?
See, and it is a challenge. You're absolutely right, and some great points from the panelists today. But this is where the difficulty is, that you may give a lot of pointers in terms of how to be safe, what to look for, what not to look for, etc. But at some level, fatigue sets in. There is a limit to how much we will be able to be on high alert all the time. And that's where we now need laws to evolve, which will provide alternatives in terms of preventive and protective measures. And one of the things that is already in place and which has to be expanded to include all kinds of financial frauds would be cyber insurance, in terms of where a person, despite due diligence, is defrauded, then there should be some protection for them. But the first kind of instance which you mentioned in terms of, too good to be true deals, there the consumers also have to be vigilant. If they are opting for something that seems too good to be true, then they are taking it with the risks involved. So they have to understand that, law will work, but it can't always work in spite of you. It can't always work despite your, extreme efforts to get defrauded. So I'm not saying blame the victim. I'm just saying the victims have to be cautious. Victims sometimes walk in eyes wide open, and they have to know that this is a minefield, and therefore they have to use tried and tested sites which may be offering inexpensive or less expensive or discounted tickets. Check the correctness of the tickets immediately. You now have managed your booking processes in all airlines. You can go and verify, but the difficulty with you going and checking the PNR later is the money is gone. So if you look at most of these cyber crimes, the money is being siphoned out using banking channels. So you have one or two hops which are still within the system. And that's why what you mentioned in the beginning is critical, the 1 hour timeline thing which you mentioned. Because as long as the money is still within the system, chances of recovery are high. Once it goes out of the system into cash, then recovery also becomes difficult. We talk often about what are the remedies under law. Is the law punishing frauds like this? And now you have the new Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, which specifically penalizes these kind of cases. So the law is there, but then you're not looking at just putting somebody behind bars and having them prosecuted, punished, etc. For these kind of frauds, the simple remedy that everybody wants is their money back. And that can happen only as long as the money is still within the system, which is why I'm really hopeful that there will be a relook in terms of remedies to provide proactive remedies such as through cyber insurance or proactive remedies through a kind of change in terms of how banking systems are looked at. RBI can provide more remedies than just the zero liability and the limited liability option. So all these things are still evolving, and we'll have to see where it goes. Until then, we have to stay safe.
Lloyd, yeah. Yes, we have to stay safe. We have to be alert all the times. But Lloyd, the fact that there could be fraudsters who are sitting overseas, like Saroj said, can make this this problem even bigger, deeper, and something that we all need to be very careful about. But what are the first few things, or perhaps warning signs or red flags that really tell us that there's something wrong and we need to be really careful about where we are headed, which way we're taking?
I think one of the first things that one should be aware of is deals that seem completely unreal. Now, the reality is that airlines too sometimes offer special deals, sweeteners, but lesser so these days. But I think deals that seem completely unreal, I think that should be the first warning sign. The second, I think, is immediacy, something that offers something for the next 24 hours. I think these short-term ploys are normally ways to get consumers' attention. But I just want to go back to one point that Napin and I made, and I think it's very valid, is the fact that given the fact that when people make a financial transaction, and there's like a golden hour, I think it must be made incumbent on airlines to provide a direct confirmation to the traveler within, let's say, 15 minutes or half an hour of a booking. So if you have made one of these deals and haven't gotten airline confirmation, I think that should be an immediate red flag. And I think given the technology, I think airlines need to be able to put that mechanism in place. The other thing that I think can be worked out is just like you have, let's say, a RERA for the real estate trade. I think similarly, the Ministry of Tourism, the Travel Trade Division, they have a seal of approval for tourism operators in the country. And today they have various classifications of tour operators, travel agents, and tourist transport operators. I think they need to create an online division where anybody who transacts in any kind of, shall we say, airline ticketing or hotel booking needs to get some kind of a seal of approval, right? So at least for the consumer, it is that if I go to a travel agent or a developer that's RERA approved, I have certain guarantees. Similarly, if I am going to get into an online travel, buying tickets for my family, spending a large amount of money, I can go to something that gives me a sign of approval. Right now, you're only dependent on the big names and the well-known online travel agencies. But I think besides the OTAs, I think there has to be some regulation mechanism which the regulators, the Ministry of Tourism, in collaboration with the travel industry and specifically with the airlines, should have that. That can be a great pointer for consumers, saying that, hey, the moment I work with an online travel agency that has the seal of approval, there is a certain certainty to my ticket transaction.
Okay, NS Napina, if unfortunately somebody does become a victim of such an airline ticketing fraud, do we follow the same kind of guidelines that we follow in other cyber crimes as well, that we report and, we go to 1930, the National Cyber Helpline and all of those guidelines, or is it something different?
No, absolutely the same route. So if you want your remedy immediately, then go to the closest police station, because if you file your complaint online, understand that it will take about 48 hours or more for the processing to be done of allocating it to the concerned police station and for the police station to reach out. So if a victim wants to have some kind of a remedy like blocking of an account to which the money may have been transferred, then the fastest route is to go to the closest police station or to the cybercrime cell within your vicinity and file your complaint. Otherwise, the two alternatives which you mentioned, which is the online reporting mechanism, which is cybercrime.gov.in or 1930, are effective remedies. So you now have all these remedies. Do not think that you have committed some wrong, or there is always the stigma attached to falling victim. So most of the victims are reluctant to report because, one, they don't believe the system is going to work for them. Two, they feel ashamed. Often it is the second first, they feel ashamed to report that they fell prey to a fraud. And that's the reason why the fraudsters are getting away with it. And instead of there being a few victims, several thousand then get victimized. Sorry. So therefore, I would really strongly urge victims to file the complaint and make the system work for them.
Yeah, I think it's a very valid point, an important point that you make, NS Napinai, that that stigma attached to cyber victims needs to go away. The fact that we ourselves, actually, we end up judging ourselves, saying that, I never thought that I would fall prey to a cyber crime like this, but you do, and that can happen to any of us. So that needs to go away, and reporting, like you said, needs to happen more and more so that more cases come to the forefront, more awareness happens. And our security system also is built in such a way, the network is strengthened in such a way that we can deal with this ever-evolving cyberspace. My last question to you, Sarosh, do you think the aviation industry could, be more accountable, be more responsible in, dealing with such cyber crimes, and probably being more at the forefront when it comes to dealing with such cyber crimes and helping the consumer?
Yeah, as far as the aviation industry is concerned, of course, they've got a lot of mechanisms already in place such as being the ITA association, where is the accreditation of for the travel agents and the airline. So the consumer having knowledge of it or having a ITA signboard is assured that this is a safe site to buy from. But still, of course, because as you mentioned, because of cloning and all these fraudsters, as good to be true, they make the fake websites as good as the actual ones. So the consumers are deceived. Of course, there is also the Air Seva portal which the government has in place. But that doesn't have, of course, dedicated case regarding cyber crimes. But any issues relating to the aviation industries are directed over there, and they should be little proactive. Of course, as far as the payments and everything is concerned, I think the RBI should come out with some better guidelines, because usually what happens reporting these issues to the banks simply deny any liability in spite of RBI circular stating that the consumer has themselves given the OTP, so we cannot do it. It was a voluntarily done transaction. Every fraud transactions, most of the cases are where voluntarily OTPs are given, but they were deceived to give that. So RBI also has to come out with some better norms, better transaction norms, better security, safety procedures. As of course, one of the panels mentioned, there has to be some insurances has to come into place. The banks should have a mandatory insurance in place that if your any card transaction over this limit has been scammed, you will get insurance, or you will get at least part of the money back, depending on the proactiveness you have shown. And of course, the best thing to do is, of course, report to the law enforcement authorities. The cyber cell in our country is pretty active, but the consumer has to be proactive. They have to report as
so
soon
we'll
as
have
possible.
to basically not just be aware. Yeah, we also have to have a strengthened security system and more awareness at the individual and at the national level. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much to all my panelists, N.S. Napinai, Saroj Damania, and Lloyd Matthias. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us tonight and sharing your thoughts on this big cyber crime that is prevalent nowadays, that of airline ticketing fraud.